You're listening to The KYLO Show, a podcast about how to keep your love on no matter what, and why whole, healthy families are going to save the world. In these next 5 episodes, Danny and Brittany are going to show you how the 5 KYLO principles apply to parenting. And if you're not a parent, don't tune out. It's still going to be incredibly helpful, because really we're talking about our relationship with our Father and how He parents us. So get ready, because Danny and Brittany are about to unpack heaven's blueprint for parenting, and it starts right now.
Welcome to the KYLO Show.
We're back.
We are. And if it looks different, it's because it is. It's a little bit different. We moved.
We moved across town.
We did. So we have a little bit of a new setup, which is fun.
Yep.
And it's exciting.
We're figuring it out still.
We are. Hey, but that's the life of anything in film is we're figuring it out. But today we're going to be talking about powerful parents.
Yep.
Are you excited about that?
Yes. I just think it's funny that we use words like tape and film.
I know.
We don't even do that anymore.
No, it's all digital and looks very different.
Yes.
But hey, here we are. So we've got powerful parents for this segment of the KYLO Show, which is more my wheelhouse, which I'm excited because I love talking about parenting, which is really fun. But, we don't want to scare you away with the fact that we're talking about parenting.
No, because most of our conversation around parenting is actually helping people see how God parents us, His children. He doesn't threaten to take us out to the woodshed. He doesn't scream in our face. He doesn't throw things to intimidate. He has a very different style and interaction, all about protecting our heart-to-heart connection.
Yeah, and really our approach to, how we do other relationships so much is influenced by how we were parented. And so I think our goal, yes, we're going to be talking to parents. We're going to be taking lots of parenting questions. But I think this might be really healing or some revelation for people on, how they were parented, how different things are still influencing the way that they interact with relationships. So hopefully you enjoy it. You stay with us. Don't get chased away if you don't have kids. I remember some of the best testimonies I ever heard from people was they didn't have any kids. They weren't even married.
Yep.
And they read Loving Your Kids on Purpose.
Yeah, it was a lot of young people in a ministry school. Required reading was Loving Your Kids on Purpose. And they're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. I didn't know this was possible. I thought you had to be like, either a intimidating dragon parent or an invisible parent. And I didn't realize there was this whole personal responsibility and respect thing.
Yeah. So again, I think it's going to be a really fun show and talking about really good stuff. So all that. But again, we're going to have all of our 5 key principles, like always, are going to be in here. So, I think really it's being powerful, choosing love over fear, pursuing the goal of connection, practice respectful communication, and honoring healthy boundaries. So
boundaries in parenting?
I know.
What?
It's just a wild concept.
I know.
But I think just to launch off, probably one of the biggest places I find parents when I'm meeting with them, when I'm speaking at an event or just my friends is they start to feel powerless. That is like the hook of where it just starts to crumble. Does that seem accurate to a lot of areas and your experience working with parents?
Yes. Well, it's rooted in somewhere along the line, a young parent learns that it is their job to control that child.
Yeah.
Would you control that child? Somebody needs to control that child. Who is controlling that child? And you're like, that is a setup to feel powerless when you try to control something that you don't control. So no one that I know of spends very much time teaching the parent to control the parent.
Right.
As soon as the parent catches on to that, like, oh my gosh, as soon as anybody in a relationship realizes what I can control I should control.
Yeah.
And what I can control is me.
Yeah. And I think that that's probably one of the biggest, I had this conversation with this woman the other day, and she says, I just feel embarrassed. And so I want to change what I'm experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that is another thing that starts to happen, is you feeling embarrassed or overwhelmed, and that control dragon comes in and thinks, well, I'm big and you're little, so maybe I can control you.
And as soon as your child discovers that they can disrupt and decrease your quality of life in the midst of a power struggle, that's exactly what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. They're going to push that big red button on your chest that says, don't you dare. Mm-hmm. Don't you dare embarrass me. Don't you dare disrespect me. Don't you dare disobey me. Don't you dare.
Yeah.
And that child is just begging for a way to feel powerful. Wonder what will happen if I hit that button.
Right. I think another, I just look back to Delaney, our oldest, who is wired like me in a lot of ways, and the car seat was such a battle just to get her to sit in the car seat, and, physically trying to push her little body to sit in the seat as she's just, they are so strong. They're 3 years old and you're just trying to get them in there. And you're running late and all these things. And the hard part in this moment is all of a sudden I lose what my goal is of being this parent. And I partner with, I'm going to control you, I'm going to win. And it turns into this nasty little battle where on the other end of it, no one's the winner. Mm-hmm. And it just is, there's been many scenes in the garage early days where I am like sweating at the end of this because I am so exhausted from the fight.
I went to the gym a while back, and the trainer had me do these things where the bell bar was across my hips, and I was lifting my hips up, and I thought, this reminds me of trying to get out of a car seat.
That's probably about right. It's just, I think, understanding and having clarity to what your goal is as a parent is what's going to help you feel powerful. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I parrot so many things that you've said over the years, but a parent with a plan is a powerful parent.
It's the best way to come into any situation. I always describe it as the emergency service workers practice, develop a plan to go to where they know they're going to be required to go, which is a fire, an accident scene, a crime scene. They practice. So when they get there, they have a plan.
Yeah.
They don't get there and then think of a plan while all the crazy is going on.
Yeah.
But so many parents seem surprised that their children are fighting.
Right.
They seem surprised that there's a big mess and no children around and no fingerprints. They seem surprised that this child is lying.
Yeah.
And we're like, how's this? How many times has this happened before? I do it almost every weekend.
Yeah.
Like, okay. How come you don't have a plan?
Right.
Instead of, you seem shocked and now you're reacting instead of you're thoughtful executing your plan.
Which is, what's your goal as being a parent, which I think about how plans manifest when you don't have a plan, or your reaction, I should say.
Yeah.
It mirrors so much of what kind of parent you are. Like, I am very much the, what Love and Logic calls the drill sergeant. That would be my role that I would step into as a default to not knowing what to do in the situation. Where
take it over.
Oh yeah, absolute, order, I'm just barking out commands. I am, I'm using all sorts of good old fear and intimidation to get what I want to control a situation. Where I think of Ben would be a more passive pursuit to
helicopter.
That. Yeah, definitely that helicopter. So it's more negotiation, more pleading, more, let me count to 3, but really it takes a minute. There's just different. So it's just interesting to think about, what is your stressed out parent land? What do you default to? Are you happy with that? Is that what you really want to practice and pursuing? And if not, how do you regain having a plan?
I would be the clown drill sergeant.
Oh.
I'm so funny. Hey. Do what I say. I'm going to kill you all. Yeah.
I don't remember that one in the description.
I know, but I hardly ever get that stressed out. But
Yeah.
that is I think every parent has a nasty reaction waiting to happen if they don't have a plan.
And I think that, how this translates to non-parents is when you're in a place of stress and a not fun situation, what's your reaction mode? Which stems from what did you see modeled? And what have you taken up as your own form of communication? And
so what are you going to do with you no matter what they decide to do with them, which extends throughout your whole life? It's in your marriage conversations. It's in your in-law conversations, at work conversations. It's with your friends who are doing a terrible job with their life. You go to your friend and you're like, what are you doing? And no matter what they decide to do with them, what are you going to do with you? And so parenting practice is kind of like all the times that you go running before the race. Just build your endurance.
Yeah.
It helps you with your time. It helps you get ready, but have a plan. Do not get caught off guard. And if you get caught off guard, largely it's due to your failure to plan.
Yeah. Which, I think that's, I had this conversation with Delaney, who's not a 3-year-old. She's nearly 16. And we have these pigs that she's taken to fair. And she kind of half-heart does it. And I'm laughing because I'm looking at her going to have children. That's how I feel right now with her and this pig.
Totally.
Because this pig's 200 plus pounds. And she's supposed to be wrangling it, telling it where to go. And she's overwhelmed, intimidated. She's panicking. And I'm laughing, thinking about, this is parenting. This is the perfect example of parenting. Trying to get this giant pig from one spot to the other spot without any casualties or, all sorts of things. And I'm talking to her. I said, honey, you have to realize that you are preparing for the ring right now.
This is leadership, baby.
This is practice 101. If you don't master it here, it's going to show up over there when there's way more pigs in the ring. Everybody's watching. You're high stress. But I was just thinking, this is literally what it feels like parenting a toddler. Is I feel like I'm constantly just doing the same thing over and over and over again, which I think for some parents feels like it's not working.
Exactly. You have a 3-year-old, you have a toddler, you have a child who is learning about life.
Yeah.
So if I remember spelling tests in school, and they would give us these words, and I just look at them and go, no way.
Never going to happen.
No way. And then they would, we'd have to write them a million times, and then we'd have to say them, using them in a sentence, and they're just trying to get us familiar with them. And then they'd say, okay, put your books away.
Right.
Spelling test. Boom. I'd get it back. It looks like somebody, got an animal on my paper. It's all red marks everywhere. And they let me come back to school. They let me stay in there. They kept teaching me spelling. Yeah. And the way that I learned to spell was to keep making mistakes until I realized it was in my memory and I could do something different. And I think our kids they're professional mistake makers.
Yes.
That's what they do. They wake up in the morning and they think to themselves, I wonder how many mistakes I can make today. What a glorious mistake-making day. And parents, I think, are just tired.
Yeah.
They're just tired. Like, how about you make no mistakes today?
Please.
Okay, can we negotiate 0? And they're like, I was going for 1,000.
It's
so
Mother's Day. Can we just have a break?
How about we just do 500? Yeah. Okay, we'll cut it. And that's the understanding, especially little ones. And then the problems kind of morph.
Yeah, they do.
They get a little more covert. But they get a little more intense.
I would say that the risk goes up. I think the biggest thing, I think about is this staying in a place of, practice and remembering that I am tilling the ground and I'm planting seeds for a harvest that I want.
Think like a farmer.
And you just have to keep chasing after this. Like, it doesn't just go away the one time. It is, lots of reps that you're putting in the practice, because you've got to set your eye on a goal. You've got to chase after that and hold on to it, because that's what needs to come to mind. And when you're putting your kid in the car seat and not the drill sergeant or whatever the default is.
So we got some questions coming up?
We do. So we're going to take some questions all around parenting, which is fun. And yeah, we're just going to jump into it.
Great.
Do you need some help with your professional mess makers? Then you need KYLO for Kids. KYLO for Kids is an on-demand course to teach your children about connection, communication, and setting healthy boundaries. It has engaging videos, interactive course guides, and there's even a teacher's guide. If you want to learn more, visit lifeacademykids.com now.
So just to make sure that you know how to give us your questions, is I put out a call and you all answered, which is great. But on the website, you can go to the very bottom of the page, and there's something called SpeakPipe.
SpeakPipe.
It's a big red button, and that's where you're going to submit questions for the future. But this first question we have is from Katie.
Hi, Katie.
What do you do with tantrums? I have a 3-year-old who is very passionate. And when it comes to nap time or things that she's not interested in, the options don't seem to help, because even when I give her a choice of, would you like to lay down with mommy or by yourself? The tantrums continue and they escalate very quickly. Would you like to read a book with mommy, or do you want to go to bed without a story? Would you like music or no music? What can I do to help her stay peaceful and calm and help her de-escalate? Once her lid is flipped, it's very hard to unflip it.
The lid is flipped.
Unflipping the lid. Yeah.
Well, I think one of the first things that I think about is, how do you keep her from being angry? Well, I don't know that you can make that decision for her. If she's going to be angry, she might be angry. So I think that's one thing you have to navigate a little bit, is that choices may not be what's provoking her. It's just her power struggle that she's enjoying with you, which,
90% of it is power struggle.
Yes. And I think that sometimes I've noticed parents offer, choices only in this moment when I want control, instead of leading up to the moments that don't require a tug. And so when we get to these moments, that's when the kids learned, oh no, I know what you're doing. This is negotiation. Well, watch me. I'm going to have fun. So I would challenge you to really make sure that you're empowering her all day, so that this doesn't feel like the negotiation circle.
Yeah, and take the struggle out of it. So, you can sit here with this book, but stay awake. Don't go to sleep. Tell me what to do. I'll go to sleep if I want to. You put in there, though, you don't have to go to sleep. But you can stay on this end of the bed or this end of the bed.
Yeah. Which I think that telling them they don't have to take a nap is sometimes moms are like, I can't say that. They won't go to sleep.
Well, I just need you to stay in this one little spot for however long, and I'll come back in a month if that's how long it takes for you to go to sleep. But you can stay on this end of the bed or that end of the bed, and those are your choices. The power struggle then is when the kid gets off the bed, doesn't want to stay in the room, doesn't want to do anything you say. Then you better have a plan.
Yeah.
This is where your plan, okay, what am I going to do with me? Well, I will get up and I will put them in a chair in a boring room.
Yeah.
And you can stay in the chair by yourself, or I can hold you in this chair with no conversation. This is not a bonding experience. This is for you to not want to be in this chair and for you to want to go back and choose that end or that end of the bed.
Yeah.
But you need a plan. You need something as soon as what are you going to do?
And again, this is the panic moment where, it sounds like this one's escalating everything, but it's sometimes the choices, they just keep defaulting to choice after choice instead of you decide or I decide and then action.
Jurassic Park
Uh-huh.
has that whole scene where they introduced the raptors.
Yes.
And the Aussie guy, he's been around some
raptors.
Scary stuff before, right? And he says, these things are smart. They keep testing the fence at different places to see if the power is still on. And children are like raptors in that they are going to keep testing your limits at different places, at different times to see if it's actually consistent. And then they're going to test both parents.
Yes.
And see if those are real limits. Do you really mean that? Are you really consistently going to follow through? Is there a weak spot in this fence? Because that's where they're going through.
This is true. It's all good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The next question we have comes from Wendy.
So I'm counseling a friend in KYLO, and she, as the wife, really wants to instill this KYLO culture within her home. Her husband is more resistant to the idea, seems to be sort of caught in this cycle of fear and control, and isn't really convinced that this way of thinking and this approach to relationships, quote, works. So she's especially concerned with how to instill this within her children and help them to navigate and handle situations with their father when he becomes angry and controlling and intimidating to them, and how she can teach her children to respond and set healthy boundaries, yet still be respectful and not seem as if she is somehow undermining his authority as a parent. Kind of a tricky thing to navigate. So if you could give any advice or help on how to do that, I would appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Good question, Wendy.
I think about when you first came home and started introducing Love and Logic to our world. Mom wasn't so excited about it.
She's a late adopter. Yeah.
So, we had fear and intimidation early on. I was about 8 when we started making changes, right?
All I had was a bag of hammers.
Yeah.
What size hammer would you like me to use on you today?
So, you can speak more to the process of the conversation of husband and wife. I think that Mom and I are similar in that anger is a easy thing to find. So I know that we had some exchanges later on in life when I was older that I brought to her, but you should talk to the husband-wife land.
Yeah, I think some people want to use it as an excuse. It's like, I can't go on this diet because my spouse isn't on this diet, and what my spouse puts on their mouth determines what I put on my. No, it's not. It's not how that works. You actually manage you. They manage them. You have your relationship with your children, and he has his relationship with your children. The two of you will have a type of culture that you create, but your children will come to you and respond to you based on the way they interact with you, and they will come to your husband and interact with your husband the way they interact with him, no matter if you're both doing it or not. But what will happen is, as you interact with your children with the goal of connection, what he will observe is that your children will be more connected to you. There will be a completely different, respectful, responsible interaction between you two, while he goes 0 to 60 hot and cold and can't figure out why they are so disrespectful or why they are so scared or why they choose your connection, and he will not like it. And eventually what he will do, he'll come over and say, okay, you seem to be having more success in getting the dishes done than I am. It turns into a big old fight. Pretty much everything that I do turns into a big old fight. What is the deal? How can I? And now she's mad at me. I don't even know what to do. Why won't she talk to me? I say, well, I think she's set a boundary with you. I think that as soon as you are respectful to her in your conversation, you'll get one. Well, children can't set limits with their parents. And as soon as you are respectful to me while we talk, I'll be glad to have a conversation. Hey, you're turning these children against me. Oh, it'd be a bummer if that were true. No, that's not true. I'm just more than willing to practice high levels of respect between you and I, high levels of responsibility between you and I. So you're going to have the same interaction with me that you're going to have with them, because I think they like it as much as I like it.
Yeah, which is great. I remember being a nanny when I was 16, and I brought in this world to a family had no grid for it, and
Single dad,
yeah, and they were pretty rowdy two little girls, 14 months apart.
Are they 4 and 5?
They were 5 and 6, I think, when I got them, but. Anyways, and I remember working for him for a couple months, and then he takes me outside and he says, I need to talk to you about what you're doing with the girls. And I thought I was going to lose my job. And I was like, okay. And he says, I need help. He said, because they listen to you better than they listen to me. What are you doing? And I was like, oh. So, I mean, it's not a spouse relationship, but it's the same thing. Mm-hmm. Culture shifting. Mm-hmm. The engagement, the value is moving towards connection, and the fear and punishment is no fun to be around anymore. So they don't want to protect that. So that was my experience with something similar. Just it wasn't a husband.
We'll get more into this in boundaries, but something to keep in mind is that we train other people, children included, how to treat us.
Right.
We train them how to treat us.
Crazy thought.
It's awesome. It's powerful.
Yeah. So, all right. We have another question coming in from Jared.
Hi, my name is Jared. My wife and I have 3 sons, ages 16, 13, and 4. We've always tried to model and teach strong work ethic and putting your heart and passion into everything you choose to do. My question is, how do we continue to reinforce this in a healthy and empowering way as our 16 and 13-year-olds are becoming young men who have more and more authority over how they live their lives? Thank you.
How do we get those kids off the couch?
Yeah. I had this conversation last night about, we just actually bought Delaney, she'll be 16 in July, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens and the workbook that goes with it. Which, I mean, if you're looking for a resource, that's a really great one. And they did a good job from what I can see. She's just embarking in it. But I think that, so much of this is back to the last point you just made, which is, other than teaching them how to treat us, we have to model for them what we expect of them. So if, there's no requirement to get off of the device because you are always on the device, and how are they going to give it up very easily? They're going to protect it because they see how much you protect it. And I think that, parenting is not about convenience as much as about investing. And I think that in that season of where there's more and more freedom, it's easy to get more relaxed and, you'll just entertain yourself, or I don't have to play blocks with you, or I don't have to do this or that. But they still need us to be engaged in developing. I feel like that stage is actually a more tender, crucial element of practicing responsibility, giving bigger consequences, and just kind of letting them feel the weight of really poorly made decisions, because they remember those experiences a bit more.
I think that parents avoiding power struggles with their teens comes from parents not trying to control the teens' use of the device, the laying on the couch, their passion level, their drive level, their ambition level. Parents need to control what they do control, which is they control permission, they control opportunities, and they control their own resources.
Yeah.
So if parents will learn how to manage their resources, the opportunities they create, and the permissions they give as something to say, all right, here is what I control. You want this. In order for you to get this, you have to get this. You have to get my permission. You have to get an opportunity I created, or you have to have access to a resource that I control, like money, the car, Wi-Fi, food, whatever it is. Okay, I control this. I don't control you. I control this. And you want this. And I put this between them.
Yep.
This has to go well for you to get that. That mastering that with feel free to as soon as is really helpful in eliminating those power struggles that hurt our connection so quickly.
I said that this morning. They all asked if I could bring sushi home after filming. And I said, I would love to bless your day with sushi, as long as your chores are all done before I get home. Now, they have all day to do them, but I prefer them to be done before I get home so I can enjoy the house clean.
The sushi exchange.
And so that's the example. Like, this is what you want? That's fine. It's a resource for me to go and give this to you. It's an opportunity for you. Do with it what you will. So I'll do a check-in after we're done and see how it goes. And maybe they have sushi, maybe they don't.
I was wondering if I should stop for sushi or not. Can I get permission from you guys? Got it. Awesome.
Yes. Yeah. So, all right. Well, that's great. That wraps up for our question segment. Okay. And we'll go into a testimony in just a minute. But that was fun.
Fantastic.
Do you feel like you need more hands-on help with your parenting? Then you need to check out Family Coaching by Loving on Purpose. In 1-hour sessions, you're going to get powerful and practical tools and resources to overcome challenges, bring connection, and build momentum for your family. So to get started, you're going to want to book a discovery call. You're going to click coaching at lovingonpurpose.com. So visit lovingonpurpose.com and click coaching to start now.
All right, so we have a testimony coming in from Alicia. I'm excited to see what she has to say.
Okay.
Hi, Danny and Brittany. Shout out all the way from Canada. I'm so grateful for this opportunity to verbally say thank you for all that you guys do. Honestly, it is impacting people across the globe. I am a living testimony to that. And I'm so grateful for all that you guys give your time to doing, the resources that you actually put out there. And thank you for saying yes to the call of God in your lives. God is really reaching and touching people through all that you do. And so I want to say thank you. I remember coming across the book, Keep Your Love On, for the first time. I want to say that was in 2018. And I actually have read it twice a year since then. I am currently on it now for 2021. And I remember reading it for the first time, and it just shed light to a lot of things that I thought were okay, but actually weren't. And also things that I knew were not okay, but I just didn't know how to go about changing them, because it looked like the norm all around me, and it looked like what I was used to. So that started a journey for me. Literally, it's not been a straight path, but this journey to being a powerful person has been revolutionary in my life. Seeing myself going from being powerless, being passive, and sometimes passive aggressive, to choosing love even in the chaotic situations, and just getting these tools to be able to communicate in a way that the other person feels honored, and going on this journey of honor and vulnerability and setting boundaries instead of letting myself be a doormat. And I'm currently hoping and believing that this is a culture that, God is going to open the eyes of my family to be welcome to. And now that I've started having kids, it has equipped me to have a vision, a new vision for what family should look like, and what unconditional love should look like, and what a powerful person looks like. So all that to say that I'm so grateful. I've been greatly impacted by all that you guys do, and I'm continuously impacted by it, continuously recommending it to people. And fun fact, I won one of your giveaways on Instagram for a lifetime access to Love and on Purpose Academy. That was my first ever giveaway that I was winning on Instagram. And I was like, this is literally the best giveaway that I could ever win. So I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for everything you guys do. And I pray that the Lord will continuously strengthen you all and just keep you and satisfy you with the full life every day. And thank you, thank you, thank you.
She is a words of affirmation love language. Yes.
She is. She's reading that book twice a year. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's more than I've read it. Yeah.
She's got you on that one. I think it's great. I one of the things she said in there was just talking about, changing habits of what was normal before. That's not anymore, because just kind of getting a glimpse as to what normal I want to produce, and then having a family and changing her culture. I think that's one of the biggest things that I think about specifically with parenting, is that, you bring in whatever tool set you had. Like you said, you had a bunch of hammers, right? And, I look at what Ben and I have, and then what Delaney, Adeline, and Lincoln are going to have, and, how does this change and morph, and this mission and vision to our family gets just clearer and more pointed, and just what it will grow into. But so much of that is, okay, I have this set of tools that I don't want, that I don't think is going to produce something that the Lord wants me to do. And so going and getting new ones, which is what Alicia's done. She's really gone and found, Keep Your Love On and the Life Academy. She's so excited about that she won. But, I love I'm going to change my legacy. That's what I kept hearing her talking about.
Yeah. Well, when I hear somebody say the journey to becoming a powerful person, I hear them say, my life is getting healthier and healthier and healthier. And I'm enjoying the confidence that comes from that. And I'm enjoying the peace and stronger connections that come from that. Yeah. And so as I hear her talk about her life going from what she thought was normal, which was passive aggressive, anxious, angry, reactionary, to I'm going to set up a family culture that our family actually wants to live in. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, there it is. But it starts in the beliefs. She's on read 7 of this book. Yeah. Like, there you go. This is how you learn Portuguese right here. This is how you learn a new language. This is how you challenge your normal, is that you stay in the flow of a different mindset until you can actually teach it. It's one thing to hear it. It's another thing to read it. It's another thing to be able to repeat it. But if you can get in the spot where you're leading and teaching it, bam, that's the deepest learning you can have. Yeah.
She sounds like what we call the KYLO evangelist.
Yep.
Maybe she should become a facilitator. She probably would make a great one.
That would be a great idea. Yeah, she could totally run a room.
Run that would be awesome.
Yeah.
I do love, again, just when you kind of redefine or clarify that goal, it's powerful to watch what changes inside of you.
Yeah.
And becoming a powerful person. And I think, our goal as parents is to activate, to grow, to nurture, to help assist a child become an adult that's a powerful person. And often when working with parents, I'm challenging them, are you a powerful person? Because you can't expect this to happen from this little person if you have not already gone on this journey and are embracing it and activating it in your life, in your marriage, in your friends, in your work environment, and then with this little relationship.
The thing I didn't know that you just mentioned here, but the whole thing with Lainey and the pigs, this 4-H experience for these kids has been such an early introduction to dealing with the willful. Lambs and pigs are willful little things, yes. and to interact your will with their will, and to figure out what you're going to do with you, and not turn into an animal yourself, which is what would happen to me as a kid. I would have just been a very cruel human being because I wasn't getting my way, and I had no skills, and I had really no honor in my character. It was just all about winning and losing. But these girls are out there training these willful animals to obey, really. And these pigs are like, okay. The lamb's like, okay, all right, ever, okay, what are you doing? What are you doing? They're poking their legs out, and I think this is beautiful interaction with really someone who could give a rip about you. This isn't your brother, your sister. They all have beautiful relationships with each other because of the culture of the house. But it's like they're working with, a coworker. They're working with a neighbor. They're working with somebody at school who could care less really what you want me to do, And they're learning the skills of self-control and leadership that is just setting them up.
Yeah, well, I'm grateful for 4-H and all those things, because I feel like Ben and I both said over and over again, it does feel like it's bringing something out of them in an earlier manner than I think we could have naturally produced on our own. But I do that element of, being a powerful person is such a huge indicator for what is it that you're training in this little person. And, again, I think that the hopeless starts to set in when I feel powerless. And, a lot of times I'll have conversations with moms where, I'm going to keep bringing the hope. You keep practicing. And I think that's the big thing, is like this practice application over and over and over again, which is the no fun chair, sit in the no fun chair, sit in the no fun chair, funner room. It is such a work that you have to be dedicated to in producing something. And I feel like that's one of the hardest things with parenting is we get tired, which slips us into this hopeless state, which trails off to powerless. And then we create this cycle. And if you're not paying attention, this cycle becomes your normal, which is something that you protect. And I think the biggest thing for being here is trying to talk about being powerful is so crucial for your success of your legacy. I mean, to put it lightly, that is really, you activating that in yourself is such a necessary thing that's required for.
Yeah, I'm just mindful of, meditate on these things, throughout the Bible, meditate on these things, keep them ever before you, think on these things. And I'm so aware that the things that we keep in our mind, the things that we think on, become our belief system. It becomes easier and easier and easier to believe that you're powerful, to believe that you're honoring, to believe that you're loving. The more you build plans to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you think on these things, you meditate on these things, it becomes more and more easy to be afraid, to feel powerless, to react when you meditate on those things.
Yeah.
All the things that could go wrong, all the things that you don't control, all the things that you're scared of, all the things that have happened in the past that surprise you, all the things that, I mean, you have a choice. And when you say things like, Father, lead me in love, show me the path of love, of honor, of powerful, of self-control. What can I do with me, no matter what happens out there? Then the meditations of your heart and your mind, they actually become what flows from your heart. They become the character of your life, because you start to string together your thoughts, your words, your meditations, your actions. And then once those things become consistent, it goes from habit to character in both directions.
Yeah.
But I love the culture of a family. You know, whole healthy families are going to change the world because of the culture in our families that are created from meditating on these things.
I think about, there's so many moments where I've heard or even thought, I don't want to do this because what if that happens? And it does. It starts to shape what I'm willing to face and what I'm willing to embrace, because I'm afraid of it. And living this life that's has room for fear is not what we're meant to do. And I think this is part of parenting, is that you have to face the fears every single day. And they are real, they are present, they are there, but you have to wake up and say, I'm going to face this fear. And I think about the scripture, his mercies are new every morning. And I mean, I don't know how, there was a season when every morning I would wake up and I literally would say that, because I would think, before I even get to my coffee cup downstairs, I'm going to cry, because the season that we were in was so painful. And it was just a storm of fear. It was a storm of what felt like real things, which was lies trying to become beliefs. And every morning I would have to say, it's a new morning, which means his mercies are new. And it's mine for the taking if I'm going to have it. Because I have to face today and I have to face all the fears that come. But what am I going to do? And so I think just embracing that this is your call as a parent, is that you are the one leading in this family, and the fruit of it is so powerful, but it is yours for the taking. So,
have a plan for what you're going to do with you.
Yes, that's true. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the KYLO Show, and remember that whole healthy families are going to save the world, and we are cheering you on.
Thanks for listening. Join us next week when Danny and Brittany talk about the motivations behind our behaviors with our kids. Never miss an episode by subscribing to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or watching on the Loving on Purpose YouTube channel. And don't forget to submit your questions and testimonies at thekyloshow.com. The KYLO Show was produced by Ali Armerding, co-produced by Ashley Beck, Leah Alexander, Anna Hill, and Sherry Silk, sound engineer and edited by Taylor Silk, and show promoter Christian Zamora. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.